Some movies are just different, too strange for Hollywood, too weird for the mainstream, but loved by fans who can't get enough of their madness. Ever heard of a killer tire with psychic powers, or a musical horror film where meat pies are made from people? Welcome to the weirdest cult movies you've never seen. Some movies fade into obscurity, while others refuse to be forgotten. These are cult movies, films that might have flopped in theaters but later found an audience that lives for their weirdness. They break the rules, challenge expectations, and sometimes make you question why they even exist. Cult movies come in all flavors. Some are so bad they're good, others are surreal, unsettling, or just plain bizarre. The Rocky Horror Picture Show became a cultural event. Eraserhead turned nightmares into cinema, and then there are films so strange they feel like fever dreams. But today we're not talking about the famous ones. We're going deep into the weirdest cult films you've probably never heard of. Let's get into it. Some movies are made to win Oscars, and some movies are made to leave you staring at the screen thinking, what the heck did I just watch? That's where cult movies come in. These films don't care about fitting into Hollywood's idea of normal. They're weird, wild, and sometimes just completely insane. But that's exactly why people love them. Take El Topo, 1970, for example. Imagine a cowboy movie, but instead of shootouts and saloons, you get surreal religious symbolism, trippy visuals, and a storyline that makes less sense the more you think about it. It's basically what would happen if a spaghetti western got mixed with a fever dream, and yet people still debate its meaning to this day. Then there's House-U, 1977, a Japanese horror film that plays like a haunted house fever dream. It has a killer piano, floating heads, and one of the weirdest editing styles you'll ever see. It's as if someone took a horror movie, shook it up in a soda bottle, and let the chaos explode onto the screen. Is it scary? Not really. Is it unforgettable? Absolutely. Now, if you think that's weird, let me introduce you to Rubber, 2010. This is a movie about a killer tire. Yes, you heard that right. A sentient tire rolls through the desert using its psychic powers to explode people's heads, and somehow the movie takes itself completely seriously. It's like someone made a joke about bad horror movies and then just decided to actually make it. And we can't forget The Greasy Strangler in 2000. This film is so strange that even people who love weird movies walked away confused. It's about a creepy old man who runs a disco walking tour by day and covers himself in grease to strangle people at night. There's an absurd amount of awkward nudity, bizarre dialogue, and moments so uncomfortable you can't help but laugh. The best part? People don't just watch these movies, they obsess over them. They quote them, debate them, and introduce them to friends just to see their reactions. These films aren't just entertainment, they're experiences. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. Some movies are made to win awards, and some movies are made to confuse, entertain, and make you question everything about cinema. The Room Hut 2003 is one of those movies. It's so bad, it's legendary. Imagine a film where the dialogue makes no sense, the acting feels like a school play, and the plot twists come out of nowhere. Now imagine that people love it because of all that. Let's start with Tommy Wiseau, the man, the myth, the mystery. No one really knows where he's from, how old he is, or where he got the millions of dollars to make The Room, but he did, and what he created was nothing short of magical in the worst way possible. Lines like, "Oh, hi, Mark," and "You're tearing me apart, Lisa," are now iconic, even though they were delivered with all the emotion of a robot reading a grocery list. The plot? Well, it's supposed to be about a guy named Johnny, his fiancée Lisa, and his best friend Mark. But it's really just a bunch of random scenes stitched together, including football being thrown around for no reason, characters disappearing without explanation, and an infamous flower shop scene where Tommy delivers his lines like he just learned English 5 minutes before filming. But here's where The Room becomes legendary. Instead of being forgotten, it became a worldwide phenomenon. People hold midnight screenings where fans throw plastic spoons at the screen because of a weird framed picture of spoons in the background and yell back at the characters. as if they're part of the movie. It's not just a film, it's an experience. And this is the magic of cult movies. They don't need to be good, they just need to be memorable. Fans don't just watch them, they celebrate them. The Room was so uniquely bad that it inspired The Disaster Artist, a film starring James Franco that tells the unbelievable true story behind its creation. So what makes a cult film? It's the kind of movie that, whether it's genius or a complete disaster, refuses to be ignored. And The Room is proof that sometimes the worst movies make the best memories. Some movies start off as complete failures, but somehow over time, they rise from the ashes like a weird, misunderstood phoenix. That's the beauty of cult films. They don't just disappear. They get rediscovered, talked about, and sometimes even worshipped. Take Blade Runner, 1982. When it first came out, people didn't know what to do with it. It was dark, slow, and had a whole lot of Harrison Ford staring off into the distance. Critics were confused, and audiences mostly ignored it. But years later, thanks to home video and endless debates over whether Deckard was a replicant, it became one of the greatest sci-fi movies ever made. Now, it's a masterpiece, but back then, it was just another box office flop. Then there's Donnie Darko, 2001, a movie about time loops, giant rabbits, and teenage angst. When it was released, barely anyone saw it. But then came DVD sales, late night screenings, and the internet, where thousands of fans argued over what the movie actually meant. Fast forward a few years, and it was officially a cult classic. People started wearing Donnie Darko shirts, quoting Frank the Rabbit, and acting like they totally understood the ending. They didn't. And let's not forget The Big Lebowski. 1998. It wasn't a hit when it first dropped, but now the dude is basically a lifestyle. There are Lebowski festivals, people drinking White Russians in his honor, and a whole philosophy of dudism. That's the power of a cult movie. It doesn't just survive, it takes on a life of its own. Today, social media helps movies go cult much faster. A film like Mandy, 2018, or Everything Everywhere All at Once, 22, might not be an instant blockbuster, but thanks to Reddit, Twitter, and TikTok, they find their people. Fans obsess over their weirdness, share theories, and keep them alive long after they leave theaters. So why do cult movies last? Because they take risks. They don't play by Hollywood's rules. And most importantly, they stick with you, whether you love them, hate them, or just can't stop thinking about that one scene that made no sense. Cult movies are like that one weird kid in school who never quite fit in, but somehow ended up being the most interesting person in the room. They aren't made for the masses. And honestly, that's what makes them so great. Big Hollywood films try to please everyone, but cult movies? They don't care if you get them or not. They just exist. Weird, messy, and unforgettable. Think about it. Most cult films weren't hits when they first came out. The Rocky Horror Picture Show flopped in theaters, but now people dress up and throw toast at the screen during midnight showings. The Big Lebowski wasn't a success at first, but now we have Lebowski festivals where grown adults wear bathrobes and drink White Russians like it's a national holiday. These movies don't just survive, they build entire communities around them. And let's be honest, the movies that stay with us aren't always the ones that win Oscars. Sure, an emotional drama might make you cry, but will it have you quoting lines at random moments for years? Probably not. But a cult movie, it sticks with you forever. You'll randomly remember that Rubber is about a killer tire, or that The Room has a scene where Tommy Wiseau throws a football for no reason, and it'll make you laugh every time. The best thing about cult films is that they don't play by the rules. They take risks, do things that make no sense, and somehow that makes them special. Some are so bad, they're good. Others are just plain weird, but all of them refuse to be forgotten. And here's the fun part. There are so many cult movies out there that most people have never even heard of. The world of cult films is endless, and we've only scratched the surface. So if you ever find yourself watching a bizarre, low-budget movie at 2 a.m. and thinking, what did I just watch? Congratulations, you might have just found your new favorite cult classic. Cult movies aren't just films, they're experiences. They might be weird, confusing, or downright terrible, but that's what makes them unforgettable. These are the movies that refuse to fade away, that build fan followings decades after release. Hollywood chases trends, but cult movies make their own rules. So next time you find yourself watching a bizarre film at 2 a.m., just know you might have stumbled upon the next great cult classic, or at least something so bad it's impossible to stop watching. Here's the thing. Normal movies are easy to forget, but cult movies, they stick with you forever. If you're the kind of person who loves finding the weirdest, wildest, most ridiculous films out there, then you belong here. Subscribe, not because I said so, but because, Hollywood plays it too safe. Stay curious, stay weird, and never settle for boring movies. This is Plot Story Reviews.